Hello everyone, I'm Carlos Silva from the Avalanche-Journal, here for another edition of the Facebook Live Red Raiders pregame chat, which is now brought to you by Jones & Associates. So let's hear a word from our sponsor.
If you got cruddy windows, we've got the answer. We can install new energy-efficient replacement windows that are easy to clean and look great. Call Jones & Associates, where we say the proof's in the pudding.
Once again, that was a word from our sponsor, Jones & Associates, who now sponsor the Red Raiders pregame chat, whereas everyone that is just joining us, we appreciate you watching. We're going to take your comments and questions right before the tip-off. Of course, that's at 6:27 p.m. Thursday on True TV here inside American Airlines Center, where the number 14 Texas Tech Red Raiders will take on Stephen F. Austin. And of course, for those that are kind of wondering, we'll have some quotes from Chris Beard, Justin Gray, and of course Keenan Evans as well, to get you ready and geared up for that game. And as well, if you have any comments and questions, don't forget to leave them right here. My buddy Brad, who is to my left, will be assisting me in getting those comments and questions because we're kind of doing some fancy stuff today. But as always, we'll get the game predictions from some of you all, and then of course giving you some key stats and key vital things that should happen if you want the Red Raiders to kind of pull one out and get their first NCAA tournament victory since 2005, where they went 2 rounds deep before losing to West Virginia under then head coach Pat Knight. So on those notes, for those that are just joining us, once again, Carlos Silva from the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal, watching another edition of the Red Raiders pregame chat. And for those that are just joining us, here's how Chris Beard feels this game is going to happen.
Really proud to be here in the second year of building our program. I think about those guys that y'all just talked to, Zach and Keenan and Justin, Norrance, and when the coaching change happened between Tubby and our group, I just promised those guys that we would do everything in the power possible to get them back in the NCAA tournament. We came up a little bit short last year, but really appreciative of those guys staying the course with us. And, we look forward to hopefully being a part of the fight. But the story, in my mind, is just how thankful and appreciative I am of our players and all the work that they put into our program to get us back to the national tournament.
Of course, that was Chris Beard, the head coach of your number 14 Texas Tech Red Raiders men's basketball team. Mentioned that and other things that were in the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal on Thursday. Of course, today is today. Had 3 stories today, a sidebar on Coach Beard and, of course, his relationship with Kyle Keller, who's the head coach at Stephen F. Austin. Both of them were actually in San Antonio. You can get that information on LubbockOnline.com, RedRaiders.com, and, of course, in the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal in Thursday's edition, along with a very special moment to end practice as Ella Beard got a game-winning shot, if you will, or layup over Chris Williams, the head athletic trainer. Just trying to get some shout-outs here to those two because they kind of got the players riled up as they were ending their open practice in front of, I would say, about 500, more than 500 Red Raiders fans, as they got some T-shirts as well, a T-shirt toss following that for those that were able to attend. Obviously, everyone had fun. They were able to talk to Coach Beard, some of the other players following that. And then, of course, everything's back to business now for Texas Tech as they look to take on the Lumberjacks, who come in with a 28-6 record, as the Red Raiders come in with a 24-9 record. So for those that aren't aware of the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks, let's kind of get a little bit of a preview for them. We've got Kevon Harris, a guard, Leon Gilmore, the third, a forward, Ty Charles, a guard, Ivan Canete, a guard, and TJ Holyfield, probably the guy that you will probably hear his name a lot because he's such a very high-energy forward, even though he's only 210 pounds, a little bit smaller than Norrance Odiase, who's about 245, and then I believe Tommy Hamilton is at 250 right now, so it's going to be a little bit of a difficult task for him to kind of go against the 2 power forwards, if you want to call them that, for Texas Tech. And not only that, but at 210, 6'8", TJ Holyfield's about just as big as Zach Smith and Malik Ondigo, the freshman for the Texas Tech men's basketball team. But as we talk a little bit more, let's listen to what Keenan Evans had to say about the game.
It was like a celebration. We were all happy, excited to be able to play in front of friends and family and have such we know that it's going to be a good crowd for us, and hopefully that gives us an advantage.
Once again, that was Texas Tech guard, senior guard, Keenan Evans, talking about the game. And for Keenan Evans, he's going to probably be one of 5 guys that'll be starting once again. Of course, Justin Gray is another. Zach Smith, you may see him come off the bench. Like I said, he's still trying to get back from that right foot injury, trying to get himself right, get his offensive rhythm back, and just get his game win back. So more than likely, you'll see Norrance Odiase start as well, along with Jarrett Culver and Zaire Smith, the two burgeoning freshmen who have really stepped up for the Texas Tech men's basketball team, as they're the second and third leading scorers for the team behind Keenan Evans, who's averaging around 17.5 points per game, along with Zaire Smith at 11.2, Justin Gray at 5.0, Jarrett Culver at 11.7, and Lawrence Odiase rounds it out with 4.1 points per game. But his big deal is getting rebounds. He's averaging 4.8 per game. So on that note, we'll kind of go a little bit to Stephen F. Austin, as I mentioned before. Kevon Harris, a guard, 6'6", 225, sophomore. He's averaging around 25 minutes a game with 14 points to go, along with 5.4 rebounds. Leon Gilmore's at 23 minutes a game, only scoring 9 points a game. 23 minutes for Ty Charles, 23 minutes for Ivan Canete, and 27 minutes for TJ Holyfield, who is averaging 13 points per game and 6.4 rebounds. Like I said, he's going to be someone that you want to try and get those rebounds away from. And as we do that, looks like we have a couple comments as Brad's kind of motioning to me, so let's see what we got here. David McIver, what channel is True TV? I'm sure if you check on Twitter right now, I'll see if I can get Brad on that. I know he's looking at it on his phone. There were a couple of Twitter posts that I saw where people were mentioning where True TV was on the Lubbock station, so we'll get that information to you in a little bit, David McIver. Chris Coburn, any height advantage for us? I think the biggest thing that you'll see, not necessarily the height advantage, it's going to be the weight or the frame advantage. Just like I mentioned before, you've got a guy in TJ Holyfield who's probably who is their leading rebounder, averaging about 6.4 per game. He's at 6'8", 220. And then, of course, you got Lawrence Odiase, who starts for the Texas Tech men's basketball team. He's at 6'9", 245. And then, of course, right off the bench to help him out, you've got Tommy Hamilton at 6'11", 250. So, in theory, if you're kind of looking for some competition here, I'm sure Coach Beard's going to be challenging his team to get more rebounds than the Lumberjacks in this game, and that's going to be key, as Justin Gray and Keenan Evans kind of mentioned some keys to the game. One is just control the pace, play a low turnover game, because that's one thing that Stephen F. Austin is going to do. They're going to try and trap you in the half court, or try and trap you as you kind of come up and make you get a little bit uncomfortable in your offense. And speaking of Justin Gray, let's see what he had to say going into this game.
Execute their sets really well. Mainly for us, it's ball pressure, being a help defense, siding, a lot of stuff, just being, what we are, a defensive team, and just doing our tactics that we've been doing all year. But SFA is a really talented team. They execute their offense really well, well-coached team, so it should be fun on Thursday.
Once again, that was Justin Gray, a senior guard for the Texas Tech men's basketball team. He will likely be in that starting lineup for the Texas Tech men's basketball team, as I mentioned before. And for those that were asking, I believe that was David McIver. If you're on Sudden Link, True TV's on channel 32, DirecTV it's on 246, Dish Network it's on 204, Xfinity 67, Spectrum 47, and AT&T it's 1164. So there you go. We appreciate it. For Brad obviously getting the information, and of course Texas Tech, as they always try to help us out as well because of all the fun stuff and all the channels that you got to find here with True TV. Is the funny thing is everyone talks about, well, what channel is True TV on? Well, Red Raider fans will find out today, and all those were on there as well. Getting back to some questions, it looks like Mary Corbett helped us out here with channel 32 being on Lubbock Sudden Link. We'll get back to some of those channels as well, just for those that are maybe joining us a little bit later, which we appreciate it. Like I said, Red Raiders pregame channel, where we take your comments and questions, or if you want to talk with other Red Raiders, check out the comment section as well. You can get all that information there. Let's see here. Casey Brinkley, how many players do they usually play? We have an advantage in our deep bench. I think every team you play, you're going to have an advantage with the deep bench, more so if you're able to get some extra playing time from a Davide Moretti or even Brandon Francis, who are two guys that if you can get them going offensively, especially from the three-point line, that stretches out a defense, and that's going to help the way that Keenan Evans or maybe even some of your other guards like a Josh Webster can drive and find an open passer in the perimeter. And I think that's going to be key for Texas Tech when they do get to that bench, is if they're able to get some extra scoring from their other guys, not necessarily Keenan Evans or Jarrett Culver, Zaire Smith. Those are guys you know what you're going to get, especially with Keenan Evans and Zach Smith and Justin Gray and kind of all the guys that are kind of beat up. They had some extra rest, so you're going to get some extra energy out of them just because they're juiced up for the NCAA tournament. But I think the other thing is when you get those other guys from the bench, as Chris Beard said, he's hoping not to lose anything once he brings in a Brandon Francis and Davide Moretti, have them play at a high level, and not only that, but play a low turnover game. Going back to some other ones, Gary Joyner, appreciate you. I don't know if you'll envy my courtside seat when you know that basketball could easily destroy my laptop, but we'll see how that goes. Trying to get some other things here. How will Tech try to attack the SFA defense, which appears to be very stingy? Like I said, just play a low turnover game, make strong passes, make sure you know where you're going, and I think there's going to be a lot of motion from Texas Tech because it's very hard to guard that motion offense. that you kind of do something like that. And I think when you're Texas Tech, the other thing that you want to do is you want to try and make your shots, especially getting to the free throw line. That's going to be another thing, as coaches said, time and time again, the more aggressive team, or victory favors the more aggressive team. And I think if Texas Tech is able to be more aggressive going into this game, I think that's going to certainly help. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? What channel's True TV? Already answered that. And height advantage, answered that. Looks like everyone else is fired up for Tech. Go Red Raiders. Once again, just to kind of reset, Carlos Silva from the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal, another edition of the Red Raiders pregame chat brought to you by Jones & Associates. For those who weren't here earlier on, we're going to replay some of the interviews that we had with Coach Beard talking about how special this was for him, especially with some of the seniors that he inherited from Tubby Smith a year ago, and he wasn't able to get them to the NCAA tournament. This is what he had to say about that.
Really proud to be here in the second year of building our program. I think about those guys that y'all just talked to, Zach and Keenan and Justin, Norrance, and when the coaching change happened between Tubby and our group, I just promised those guys that we would do everything in the power possible to get them back in the NCAA tournament, and came up a little bit short last year, but really appreciative of those guys staying the course with us. And, we look forward to hopefully being a part of the fight. But the story, in my mind, is just how thankful and appreciative I am of our players and all the work that they've put into our program to get us back to the national tournament.
Once again, that was Chris Beard, the head coach of your number 14 Texas Tech Red Raiders, who come into this game at 24-9 against Stephen F. Austin, 28-6. Texas Tech earning a number 3 seed and a spot in the Dallas Regional of the NCAA tournament, the first round here at the American Airlines Center. And of course, the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks earning a number 14 seed, so we'll see how things go from there. Looks like Scott Terrell already has a prediction. Load off my back here, as the Red Raiders are going to be winning by 20, according to him. I see a little bit closer. It may be a double-digit victory for Texas Tech, but I don't think it's going to be 20, maybe 9 to 10, depending on how things go with the free throw line. I think that could be a good deal for the Texas Tech men's basketball team. Like I said, I think it's an advantage here for Texas Tech just because of their length and athleticism, but certainly Stephen F. Austin has a lot more athletes than they're typically used to, and I think that's where Kyle Keller is going to see that difference, and you'll see a little bit more difference in Stephen F. Austin in terms of the way they play. That's how they're able to get their turnovers. They're long and lengthy, just like Texas Tech, get deflections, and they're able to kind of get in transition and start their offense from there. So on that note, we're at about the 12.5-minute mark. I think we're going to call it a day. Brad's tired of holding his laptop and getting the comment section going. On that, we'll listen to Keenan Evans. We'll get back to those channels where you can see True TV, and then we'll call it a day.
It was like a celebration. We were all happy, excited to be able to play in front of friends and family and have such a, we know that it's going to be a good crowd for us, and hopefully that gives us an advantage.
Once again, that was Keenan Evans, the senior guard for the Texas Tech men's basketball team, who has some rest after a long and arduous kind of tourney in the Big 12 tournament as they lost to West Virginia 66-63. But certainly I think there's going to be a lot of invigoration and energy and enthusiasm from the Texas Tech men's basketball team, as, like I said, they're playing in front of most of their friends and family. And then, of course, for those that are trying to watch it on TV, Sudden Link on 32, DirecTV 246, Dish 204, Xfinity 67, Spectrum Channel 47, and AT&T 1164. On True TV, you can watch that at 6:27. That's the scheduled tip on Thursday at American Airlines Center. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at CM Silva Jr. And then, of course, you can get all the game information and everything else you need at LubbockOnline.com, RedRaiders.com, and pick it up in the Friday edition of the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal as you can always do as well. So once again, appreciate y'all watching another edition of the Red Raiders pregame chat brought to you by Jones & Associates. I'm Carlos Silva from the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal. We'll talk to you after the game.